Okay.
Right. All right, well, here we go. Let's go episode 2 of, what are you calling it, Jess?
The Potty Squatty.
We're not calling it the Potty Squatty.
Wait a minute.
Well,
I feel like
who knows? Maybe we probably need to at least buy the domain, pottysquatty.com.
For sure.
Just in case.
Yeah.
No, today's going to be awesome. Getting to do something new rather than just sitting down and talking. We get to go through the story, SHEA-stimony.
Oh, trademark that right
Trademark
now.
that. Yeah. So we've got the awesome Shay here with us, going to walk us through her story. And then, you're pretty excited, Jess, because last week we was all these Tallapoosa people with me, Chad, and Ansley, and then poor little Whitesburg Jess there was like, I don't have any stories from the streets of Tallapoosa.
Foundational background knowledge of this. So
yeah. So tonight, but now we've got 2 Whitesburgians.
Yes, that's right. Really excited.
Whitesburg.
So Shay, just how do you want to open up? Just go right into your story, and maybe growing up in the big city of Whitesburg. You've been able to hear your testimony 2 or 3 different times, and there's a lot there, from growing up to start with there. So you want to start off in there?
So I was born in Whitesburg many, many years ago. I grew up there, went to school in Whitesburg, and then transferred to Carrollton during my high school years. But my parents were school teachers most of my life. My dad was a coach. He coached everybody. He would take all the Whitesburg kids, pick them up, and take them to Carrollton to the recreation department for sports there. So whatever season it was is pretty much what sport we were playing, or that's what ball field we were at. Yeah, I think I learned to walk on the track in Carrollton. Oh. Yeah.
Okay. So how many people probably live in Whitesburg?
I'd say maybe 1,500.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think when I was born, there might have been 300.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're OG.
It's grown.
Yeah.
Right.
Back when the bank was a trailer.
Okay.
Oh,
Remember
yeah.
that? The bank was a trailer, and you could hook your bank up and steal.
I actually went to Head Start in Whitesburg. There used to be a Head Start program.
Yes.
That was like my core childhood memories. Probably the best memories of my life. But so I was maybe two. There were all African American children and then 2 white kids. I was one of the 2, and I loved it.
Yeah.
So that kind of.
So now you've made it. You're in Carrollton High School. Is that right?
Yes.
So is that where did things start getting a little chaotic then, or you started to?
So I went to Whitesburg Elementary until 3rd grade, and then I transferred to. Then I went to Central Middle School and Central High School. That was back when it was 8th grade was high school.
Yeah.
And then started my 9th grade year and went through some severe bullying by the girls that were my best friends. So that was kind of a turning point. That was the first real trauma and heartbreak that I went through. One girl even brought a razor to school. They jumped me in the bathroom, but I busted through them and got back to the classroom. And then that night went home, and this was before cell phones and all of that stuff. So it was just a different world back then. So when my mom picked me up that day, I told her what had happened. And she had known that there were some things going on. And my parents kept, it's just, this will pass. It'll get, girls are just being jealous or whatever. But the razor, that was the final straw. So that night, my dad was like, you're going to transfer. You'll go to Carrollton. And the very next morning, I went to Carrollton and started a whole new high school, Yeah. So that was kind of, that was really painful. Anybody that's been bullied, knows what it's like. It's not cool. But it was new to me because I was always, for the most part, well liked and a good student, made good grades, excelled in most the sports and those kind of things. So it was kind of earth shattering to just pick up and go and move across town to the rival school.
Yeah. I was going to say, because it's a rival. It's like the Bremen-Harrelson County rival.
Yeah. And, it was really, there were all the cliques, but my boyfriend was a really popular kid at Carrollton. So that helped me. It was automatically I was popular, and I was able to adapt, but I was still carrying a lot of pain. And what I did is I just hung on to him,
So that became your identity there, like you were a girlfriend then.
Yeah. And we were trauma bonded, and it was so toxic. But we started out, the will you go with me? And I was still at Central then. It was like, will you go with me? And we'd talk on the phone until, all the hours of the night, I fall asleep on the phone. And then, that was the beginning of our relationship. And that lasted until right before I went in the Marine Corps. So from 13 to 19.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So during this time, is that when you did you start to like go partying and stuff like that at that point?
Yeah. We started, like with the drinking every now and then smoking marijuana, nothing too serious until we broke up. And then I started really partying.
Yeah. I know you had told a story before. Was that before or after? We talked about it a little bit before the first time you had OD'd there. Was that during this time or is that?
Yeah. So I graduated high school and I'm trying to put it, it's been over, 35 years ago. So I graduated high school and I don't want to say his name because, small town. But so we were still together for about a year after I had graduated. And then when we finally split, I was lost, because despite all the fighting and all the high school drama and all of that stuff, we were best friends. We grew, we went through all the things together. And I just found myself really lost. And I was at school at West Georgia working as a waitress at the Border in Carrollton.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like the first year that it opened up.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Shout out to the Border.
Yeah. And
before the addition.
Right? Yeah.
That was before the addition.
Yes.
The Border, yeah.
And I was doing a lot of partying over at West Georgia down on the famous Cunningham Street. It used to just be house after party house. And, I had started driving a guy I would drive him to the dope man's house and drive him back to the party house, and that overdose happened. I had just turned 19. So it's like 94.
Yeah.
Yeah. 1994.
Yeah. So you said when that happened, do you remember that feeling of, I think when you said whenever I went and listened to you at CR Cleveland County, you said, you were freaking out, but at the same time you had this feeling of like, man, if I could just get back to, was it my grandmother's house?
My nanny. It was my great grandmother. So to kind of catch you up on the overdose story, I had driven the guy to go pick up the party favors, and we were coming down the bypass in Carrollton. And there were blue lights on both sides of the road. And so he starts handing me bags.
To swallow.
Yeah. And I swallowed so many bags. One of the bags was already open. I didn't know you could throw it out or put it somewhere else or I didn't.
Just panicked. Yeah.
I didn't,
You're a kid. Yeah.
Basically a kid. And so I'm just swallowing them as fast as I can. And we get up to the blue lights and it was a wreck. It wasn't a roadblock. But by the time we got from the bypass over to the college, I was already.
You could feel it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and my eyes, I'm sure, were like saucers. When we got back to that house, everybody as soon as we walked in the door, they just ran because, we told, well, of course, we get back, we don't have any party favors for anyone, and then I told them, well, I swallowed, all these bags, and then I'm just like really going into cardiac arrest, I'm sure, was what was happening. But so I'm at that house by myself, and I first started walking. Those houses, if you opened all the doors, you could walk circles in them. So I'm just going around and around and around. But the whole time, I felt the presence, and what I now know was Jesus. That's the only way I can explain it. But also, I kept thinking if I could just get back home to my nanny's room. My nanny, during my high school years, my nanny lived with us, and then when she passed away, her bedroom was still there and everything. So all I could think was if I could just get back to my nanny's bed, I'll be okay.
Yeah.
And I finally, several hours later, after going through the whole night, just slipping in and out of consciousness, the guy that I drove, he actually showed back up to the house to check on me. And when he saw me, he took me back to the guy's house. And They were throwing me in and out of the shower in my clothes. They were just cold water, and then they would tell me to get up, wake up, don't close your eyes, And they just kept trying to keep me alive, basically.
Yeah.
And then I managed, when the sun came up, I managed to walk from, it was Brookwood Apartments.
Oh, yeah.
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 That's behind the college. I managed to walk across the campus to Cunningham Street and knock on one of the neighbors' doors and asked to use their phone and call. I called my ex-boyfriend, and he picked me up and drove me to Whitesburg, and he was terrified. I'll never forget when he saw me. He was like, what in the world? And I was like, just get me home. I don't feel good,
Yeah.
And I made it home to my house and got in my nanny's bed. My oldest sister was there washing clothes, and I came in, and I just remember somehow making it back there and telling her, I don't feel good. I'm going to go lie down. Yeah. And then,
wow. Yeah, no, that's great. That's so powerful, because I remember being in my mess so many times and just getting yourself in some situations, just that you should not have been in and probably shouldn't have survived. But in the moment, like, you almost go to this childlike thought of, like, just when times were, it was just you and your grandmother or just you and your mom or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And oftentimes you think, man, like, golly, if I could just go back there, that's where everything is all right.
Yeah.
So I can see that was just so powerful when you said it that night, that it brought back up like a flood of memories. I remember on my ride home, I was thinking, like, man, I remember so many times of, like, probably shouldn't have survived, but just daydreaming in that moment, like, man, if I could just get back there.
Yeah.
It's just like if we could just get to that point of, like, like that person being Jesus, to where, like, when you're in the presence, all the worries that you had, didn't matter how chaotic it was or how bad it was, like, you're just like, I got to get to the feet of Jesus.
Yeah.
Because that's where I know that
safe.
I'm safe.
Yeah.
It's not that the storm stops. It's the fact that he is in control.
Yeah.
So that's good. So where are we at now? You say you went to the Marine Corps. Was this shortly after that, or?
Yes. The very next day, my dad came and sat on my bed. This was after, he woke me up that morning, or how, I can't remember exactly how it happened. I just remember coming to, and he was like, your fever broke. Mm. And he was like, I smell it, but you could smell the ether in the room, so
really?
that, yeah.
So that was a lot. You had a lot in your system.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh.
Yes. So that it was probably that evening he came and he sat down, and he was like, maybe we need to send you off to school somewhere else so you can get, my dad knew me. He still knows me really well, but especially back then we were really close.
Yeah.
And he was like, we could send you off to school and get out of Carrollton. And I was like, I know y'all can't afford that, He said, well, what about, have you thought about joining the military? And it was like a light bulb came on, and I didn't know anything about the military other than my grandpa, who was my favorite human ever, was a World War II vet. And I was like, that's what I'll do. And he said, you could join the reserves, and then you could go to, all the things. So I was like, okay. So I went that next day to the recruiter's office, and the only recruiter that even paid me any attention was the Marine.
Right there by the Radio Shack, right?
Yeah.
Yep, where the movie theater was. Yep, sorry.
Yeah. So, when I went in there, I had
Yeah.
no idea that I was going to join the Marines that day, active duty. But that's what happened.
Wow. How long before you left?
About 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah. I had to pick up back then, it was like the delayed entry program. As a female, it takes a lot longer for them to build a platoon of women to put you through training, because there's so few women.
Yeah.
That go in the Marines.
Overall, what was your military experience like with the Marines?
So it's kind of funny. This is where it gets a little deep. But so my experience with the Marines, on one hand, was awesome. Things that I learned in the Marine Corps, I couldn't learn anywhere else, and it have built a lot of character. Just, looking back, it's like I draw from that, because I'm like, okay, I was able to do that. Like in certain situations, if they're tough, and I'm like, why am I panicking about this? I went through Paris Island.
I was going to say, Paris Island is not.
Yeah. But, that the enemy will tell you you're not, that you can't. But so I draw from that, those areas of, if I could do that, I can do this for 5 minutes, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I endured some trauma in the Marine Corps that was so severe that I buried it for about 17 years. That will suppress memory. And it wasn't until years later I was in treatment for substance use disorder at St. Jude's. They took me over to the VA to get some blood work done. And the right person asked the right question, and they were doing the evaluation. I guess now when you go into the VA, every time they do like a PTSD assessment, and they did that in the intake, and the guy was like, you need to go up to this floor and see this lady. And when I got up there to see her, it all came out.
Yeah.
It was
time.
Yeah. And
you say you suppressed that for how long?
About 17 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like I would have flashbacks of certain things, or just get triggered like in a bar, just different things. And I would just flip out and be ready to fight everybody in the room, or run off and stay gone for days. Just really bizarre behaviors. And now looking back, I understand, what happened, that I was triggered. And this is, these are the reasons.
It's trauma responses.
Yeah. So after that day at the VA, I was able to get it lined up where I could do cognitive processing therapy at the VA. They were partnered with St. Jude's. So it was very intense therapy for about 6 months of reliving the trauma, recording it. Like I would tell the story and record it on a cassette and then go back at night and listen to it. And yeah, it was pretty intense.
Really?
So my experience with the Marine Corps was good and terrible.
Yeah.
But I still at the end of the day, I love the Marine Corps, and I'm proud of that time of my life, because it was a success. And it was, I was able to use that experience, go on to college. It paid for my education, and had my daughter while I was in the service, and there's a lot of really good memories.
Yeah.
Did you do 4 years?
Yeah.
4 years. Did you get stationed anywhere? Did you have to do any kind of deployments?
No. So
what a blessing. Yeah.
So I was in between the Gulf War and 9/11.
Yeah.
So I did 4 years active and then 4 years inactive. So right about the time my inactive period ended, 9/11 happened.
Gosh.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a scary thing.
So at this point you were, so after that inactive time, those 4 years, you said you went on to school. So what did you do?
So I went to Kennesaw State and got my bachelor's degree in early childhood education, and began a teaching career.
Wow.
That lasted about 7 years. And then...
So y'all are Whitesburgians.
And former teachers. That's
former
awesome.
teachers.
Yeah.
Like
and teachers of littles. Those are the best.
Yeah.
It's the
I feel
easiest
like
to
y'all are
teach.
ganging up on me.
Well, we did call each other before this podcast.
Yeah.
So where were you teaching at? Where did you teach?
So I started at Shelton Elementary in Paulding County. And then I transferred to Carrollton Middle School the first year that it opened in 2005, and taught 4th grade for 1 year. And I was like, I told y'all I'm a kindergarten teacher.
Yeah. It's a big difference. Yeah.
And then I went to Carroll County schools and taught kindergarten at Glanton Heinzman, and then took a leave of absence that last year of teaching because I had started spiraling.
Yeah. Can you walk us through that? I don't think.
Yeah.
Just in case nobody's heard this story.
Yeah. So when I'm trying to get the years right, I guess it doesn't really matter. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm terrible with years.
So when I moved back to Carrollton, I had divorced my kid's dad and moved back to Carrollton to take a position in Carrollton. And my kids were with me. We lived over behind the college. And, I was doing pretty good for myself on the surface. It looked like I had it all together. But that's when I was really drinking. I would get my kids to bed and drink every bit of alcohol in the house. It was usually beer, but I would drink it all, until I pass out. I mean, that was really the only way that I could sleep. So I guess you could call it a functioning alcoholic. Wake up in the morning and get through the day, go through the motions of being a perfect mom and teacher, and then do it all over again.
That's eerily similar to my testimony. Yeah.
I remember, trying to figure out whether or not I smelled like alcohol or not, even after the shower and all the things. Then I got into a new relationship with a man that he was, the golden child of Carrollton, but he was in recovery when we met. I didn't really think about it too much. I just knew that he didn't drink, and he was cool with me drinking, Yeah. So we would go out to the Carrollton clubs and stuff. Most of his friends, one of his friends owned most of the clubs.
Oh, yeah.
So, on the weekends that I didn't have my kids, that's what we did. And it was, not a big deal. We would go out and I would drink and we would dance and it was fun. And, he didn't drink. And then one night I came home from dropping my kids off at their dad's, and I said, what are we going to do tonight? And he sat up and he said, meth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, and that was it. That's all it took. It was that one time. And I was addicted.
Mm.
I mean, it cured my alcoholism,
Well,
it was, it's wild. I will never forget that night. And then the few days after that, because I really hated it so much, but I still couldn't stop.
Yeah. The first thing I done off of opioids was because of meth. And I thought that I had cured my opioid dependency,
Wow.
So then there was a weird pride that come along with that.
Wild.
Because I was like 7 years into the opioids, and then all of a sudden I was like, I ain't taking anything in 2 weeks. But I think I'd been up for 2 weeks, but I just, but like you said, it's just a little bit of this weird pride that
it was wild. Like, it can drive everybody.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm not going to
bragging about being the DD.
Yeah.
Exactly. Wow. That's core memory unlocked. So I'm sorry. So,
no.
So how long you said that was the beginning of a spiral?
Yeah. So I would say within 8 months, I lost everything.
Wow.
Mm.
I took a leave of absence, thank God, from my teaching job. Because, you can only call in so many days. And then, so this is a layer that I didn't share in the church, but I'll share this part. So to add another layer of scandal to my life at that point. So, on a dare with my then husband, after we'd started doing the meth, my kids were taken out of my home. We went to the strip club, one of the strip clubs, on our anniversary because, it made sense.
It made sense when you're on
the
meth,
time.
yeah.
And so, on a dare, it was an amateur night, and he was like, da-da-da-da-da. Long story short, I pretty much left my teaching job and started working on the weekends in the strip club. Yeah. Yeah.
What an polar opposite.
It's
crazy.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
And it's weird how every time we share a story, something else comes up. But I think that's part of that. It's part of that shame and that stigma and the stuff that that I didn't talk about for so long, and now I do share it. If it's on my heart, I'll share it, even if it makes people go, ooh.
Yeah, but it doesn't hold you anymore. You're not bound by that.
It doesn't.
You don't have to walk around with your head down because it's not who you are anymore. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was a total scandal because here I was taking a leave of absence from a school that everybody knows, all those things.
Yeah.
My mom was also a teacher, or the hospital homebound teacher for Carroll County Schools, had been a teacher there for almost 30 years at that time. She knew something was wrong. It was just, everybody was, what is Shay doing? And then a couple of family members had me followed, so they knew what I was doing. So it was
the great disappointment.
The great disappointment.
Yeah. And you telling that story too, you hit it well a second ago when you said, like, it was this one time that we decided to do meth, and then like you looked up and all of a sudden it's been
8 months.
Yeah, 8 months later, and
Yep.
life is 100% different than it was.
Horrible.
So you ended up marrying this guy. So you guys ended up getting married and just taking you down that road. It's difficult. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where were your kids at this time?
So we dated, okay, and I probably left the timelines a little choppy. So we had dated for about a year, but our families had known each other forever, you know. Then we got married, and it was like 2 months into our marriage, the meth showed up at the house. So my kids live with me. Trying to think. We managed to...
You're functioning at this time.
For just a few months.
Yeah.
Just a few months, you know, and then the signs were, I mean, I'm one of those people, if I lose 1 pound, I lose 20 pounds.
Yeah.
You know, so I didn't really have, especially back then, I didn't have a buffer. So it was like all of a sudden, you
looked sick.
I mean, I looked like, the double zeros were falling off, you know. So everybody was wanting to know what's going on.
Yeah.
And so my kids, and I mean, I'm talking about just within months, y'all, the relationship became like a hostage situation. You know, I was showing up to family functions with bruises and just looking sick. And so I had a plan to leave him. Like, it was like 5 months in, I had a plan to leave him, and had told my mom, I took my kids to my mom's on Thanksgiving, and I told her that night, don't let them, just keep them here until I get him out.
Yeah.
But when you get back home, and I got, you know, back into the crazy, it was like I wanted to leave and I couldn't leave. And I made that analogy, I think, about the cooked frog. I don't know if I told you about that. It was like I became the cooked frog.
You sit in the pot, and the pot started boiling with you around it. Or,
Yeah. If you put a frog in lukewarm water, it won't jump out. It won't jump out, but you know.
It'll cook itself because it won't know that the temperature. That's tough.
Yeah. Or you slowly heat it up and then you get a cooked frog. But anyway, so it was, but within 8 months, everything.
Does that bring you to, because at this point you hadn't really been in any type of trouble, have you? I mean, so like at this point, this is when it finally, you know, is.
Yeah. So I ended up, this was 2008, I ended up with a possession charge, and it was all, you know, that was family members calling and, hey, let's just lock her up, and you know, a baggie. So they show up at my house, a baggie magically appears, but it was all, I mean, I'm not mad about it, you know. So I ended up spending some time in Carroll County Jail, and then got sentenced to rehab, an intense rehab inpatient for a year. Went to rehab, did great, but moved back home, stopped going to meetings, stopped, you know, doing all the things that we have to do. I lost that connection with the like-minded people, and then found myself in another relationship, and
right back into it.
Yep.
Yeah, just seeking the validation, seeking. Yeah, so at this point too, like you've you know, you've got pretty deep into all this, and then you're about to come to a point to where you're about to get in a lot of trouble, right? To where you get set down for a little while in jail. And that's what we talked about, where you had the devotional and all.
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So when you're on meth, 15 years can pass you by before you know it.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what happened. So for 15 years, my pattern was rehab or jail or both. Stay clean or sober for maybe a year. Get in a new relationship. That was a pattern of mine too. Was I always had to get in some kind of, you know, have a pattern of
codependency.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so that went on for about 15 years, and every time it was like 10 times worse.
Yeah.
You know. So in 2020, I was in the worst relationship I've ever been in. You know, by this time, my kids are grown. My son's in the Marines, overseas. My daughter just had my first granddaughter, Georgia. It's COVID. My mom's got metastatic breast cancer. And I'm in this relationship that it was like every week I would pack my stuff, or either he was throwing all my stuff out. I'd show up at my mom's house, and then he'd come get me, and it was horrible. So 2020, I ended up in one of the largest drug busts in Georgia. Yep. Found myself at Carroll County Jail, living my worst fear, and that was being locked up and something happened to my mom or my dad, Ended up, I couldn't get a bond. There was no bond to be set. They're like, the DA said, you'll never see the light of day. You're a menace to society, all of the things. And I couldn't get a bond. My mom passed away 6 months in to my incarceration. Yeah. So this is where I get monotone and I detach, because that's what I do.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So 6 months in, I did manage to get a 2-day furlough, and my lawyer actually, they let me leave with him. He took me straight to my parents' house, and that night, I got there at about 3:30 in the afternoon, opened my Christmas presents my mom had there waiting for me, and it was a devotional, Todd Wright's book, Keeping Life in Focus. And so she passed that evening. She was completely poured out. She had given everything that she could give. And it was really probably the most peaceful moment of my life, and I'm, so thankful that I was able to be there with her. But I did have to go back and turn myself back in the next day, and they let me take my devotional back into the jail. And I think that's when really my relationship with God strengthened, and I just learned how to really walk with Jesus.
Would you say the grief of that kind of helped shape your final recovery? Like that was like the breaking point of that overwhelming grief? Because it seems like you were kind of lucky compared to what most people have. You have really good family support. And I think that's the difference in life and death for some people.
Absolutely.
And that's why I think that's why you're sitting here. And so losing somebody that has fought for you your whole life and never gave up on you, and having that moment, it had to have shaped something in this recovery process for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So those first 6 months that I was locked up, I would, you're on lockdown at Carroll County Jail most of the time as a woman there. So you would come out, I think, twice a day. You'd come out in the morning, at lunchtime, and then you had some evening time, like in a little day room. So anyway, on those times, I could call my mom 3 times a day. So if I didn't make that first morning call and that lunchtime call, she was calling the jail. What are y'all doing to my baby?
Yeah.
But that time was very precious. I would call her, and we talked, but she planted that seed of your haven. And that's where I work now. She would say, you need to when you get out, you're going to go to the haven, is what she called it. And she said, and so my cousin Amber was part of the founders she would say, and you're going to do like Amber and get yourself straightened out. And so that was her prayer for me, was to get straightened out. And I started really focusing on that. And in that devotional, you can, it kind of ask you some questions, and some of it you can write, but then I just started writing my whole prayer in the book. And every prayer that I wrote in the book, that there was 12 months when I went back, every single prayer that I wrote in that book has been answered. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So now you get an opportunity to, when you get out, talk a little bit about that. I love the story of, when you got out and you do find the haven.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I finally got out, it was a really hefty bond, with the condition of wearing an ankle monitor, bonded out to my dad's house, which my dad's house is where my nanny's room was. So in my prayers, the only place that I wanted to be was there.
Yeah.
He's in the details. God is in all these little details.
Yeah.
He's so faithful in those details.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I get home, and I think it was maybe 2 days later, there was the meeting at the Haven at your Haven. So my cousin Amber was already calling to come to All Recovery on Saturday, you know, and so I showed up there with my ankle monitor in a full blown panic attack because but I'm so, you know, happy because it was like I knew this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. I showed up there, met a couple of people that have just been my encouragers, you know, and that's really like for me, all I needed, I think, you know, was just one person to say, hey, you know, if I can do it, you can do it. And I like my cousin, I believe, because I know where she was. And then you know, she was like, when you get out, you can come here. Everybody's going to love you and you can become a cares. And I believed it, you know.
Yeah. You just had hope, that little bit of hope.
Yeah. And people that have paved the way before me, you know, and I knew, you know, it's really a blessing that I did spend so much time at Carroll County Jail. And it took me probably about 12 months to really realize, hey, you know what? And that was when I started praying that prayer, you know, dear Lord, please help me rest in your will.
Yeah.
In Jesus' name, amen. And that was the simple prayer that it changed everything because I removed myself from the equation. Yeah. And
you just said it was a blessing that you got to set at the time you got to sit in jail, which is, I think, you know, when you get to a point to where you can see, like, you know, even that God used a moment as terrible as it may be in jail, you can look back now and say, wow, I was really shaped there. You know, God really shaped me in that moment.
Absolutely. He saved my life, and that's where my mind, body, and soul healed.
Yeah.
You know?
And then, if you can't tell the story now, we get to, I believe it was, where does it start with Horatio?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we're about there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, so I get, you know, go to your Haven. I start going there for meetings. And I didn't want to talk to anybody. But over time, Amber would say, no, at this all recovery meeting, you know, we recover out loud. And I was like, I'm not saying that, you know.
I have an ankle monitor. What else do I need to say? Yeah.
You know, my ankle monitor,
you guys see this.
It would start vibrating, you know, and I'm like freaking out and all the stuff. And I thought everybody could see it, you know, all the things, you know. That I would be wearing big pants in the summertime, just thinking it was a bigger deal than it was. But about 6 months in, I got at that 2-year mark in my recovery, and Amber was like, well, you need to start applying for CARES. And I was, had every reason in the world not to do it. And then finally I applied. It took me, I think, about 3 times to get into the academy. And long story short, got my CARES certification, and Your Haven hired me.
And you're just like, this is my life now.
Pending charges, an ankle monitor on. I was like, but do y'all not understand? You know, and they were like, no, this is, you know, we're peer led, and you know, we believe in you. Your resume's great. And I'm like, you still see some great, but you know, in my mind, I'm thinking of all the charges. I'm thinking all the bad stuff. So they hired me part-time to be the peer navigator. So I'm working there. And Alicia Beck is training me. Do you know Alicia?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Okay. So she's training me, and then, you know, we start sharing our stories. And we were talking about how we would write down our prayers in jail and how powerful that is. And that, you know, God says to write down your vision and make it plain. And so we were like, let's make a prayer board for our peers. When we don't know what to do, we know that prayer always works. So we make this prayer board in our office. And the first prayer that I write on there was, Dear Lord, please break every chain that's holding me back. And put it on there. A little time passes, and I'm at work one day, and mind you, I'm still wearing this ankle monitor. By this time, I've been wearing that ankle monitor for about 20 months. Wow. No, I wore it for 23 months altogether. So my leg is like, you know, when you wear a cast, I mean, it was starting to really.
You're done. It was a lot. Emotionally, that has to weigh on you because it's a physical reminder every day of you weren't technically free yet. Yeah.
And so, you know, to the point to where I was praying about it and you know, so the timeline's kind of blurry, but we'll get there. So I'm at work Kelly and Alicia had gone to the jail. So I'm there by myself with a peer, and we go outside. We're standing out in the yard at Your Haven. And this city of Buchanan guy pulls by, and he comes back by, pulls up in the driveway. And I'm like, oh, that must be that Horatio guy that everybody talks about. So he pulls around and he said, hey, you must be the new girl. And I'm like, yeah, are you Horatio? And he said, yeah. And I said, yeah, I'm Shay. And right before he pulled up, my lawyer had called me out of the blue, which was weird because I was usually trying to track him down. And he said, look, I'm going to file a motion to have your ankle monitor removed. And I was like, okay, great. So I'm all excited about that, but I'm nervous about it too. And I'm like, hey, I've heard that you're a praying man. And I was like, if you think about it later, will you pray for me? And he was like, I'll do you one better than that. We'll pray right now. And he jumps out of the truck and he holds my hands and we pray. And he said, it's done. And he throws my hands down. And I said, it's done. Yeah. And so they leave. And Alicia and Kelly are pulling back in. And so me and the peer start walking back up to the building. We meet them at the back door. And I was like, my lawyer called and he's going to file a motion. And about that time, he calls back and he said, it's done. The DA agreed to it.
Wow.
So we're all walking back into our office, and we open the office door and look down. There's a piece of paper laying on the chair. And I said, what's that? And I pick it up, and it was my prayer.
Wow.
So
that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
sorry. I get emotional. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You won. You made Jess cry. So you
Yeah.
won.
Yeah.
That's incredible. What an incredible
Yeah.
testimony. That's awesome.
So how long ago was that?
That was, so I started working at Your Haven October 2023. Sorry for not being in my microphone. And I was probably there. That was about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow. So you're still, what is your current role with Your Haven?
So since then, I have taken on the role as operations manager at Your Haven. I moved into full-time last April.
That's awesome.
So where do you see God? What's next for Shay in this SHEA-stimony? What do you see? What's the future hold for you? Rather than where you've been, where do you feel that God's leading you?
I'm really just trying to listen right now. Yeah. For about 6 months, when I took on the new position, I was really struggling. I was having like some inner just turmoil, struggling with. It wasn't necessarily learning something new. I don't really know what it was, but a lot of it could have been my mental health.
Yeah.
That's something that I still work on, that I have to work on.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this isn't for me. I need to be back just doing peer support. But I think now I've accepted the fact that he's not done with me yet. There's more for me to do, more for me to learn.
Yeah.
I'm letting him lead me right now,
Is it sort of, it's a season of a little bit of uncomfort because maybe it's new to you or just
That's probably what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny how God does that.
Mm-hmm.
And push you. We get comfortable at times, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden he's like, what? I need a little bit more.
I was good sitting at home with my daddy eating Little Debbie's, I'm serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But it was cool too when I really started going to the meetings and was just regularly, I would go on a Monday and a Saturday, and a Saturday would roll around and I'd say, Dad, I think I'm just going to stay home today. And he'd say, no, those people need you, you know. And but it was cool that he was, he was getting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Because you, up until then, had anybody in your family other than Amber dealt with addiction the way that you've dealt with it?
Not.
So this was.
I mean,
new to
there's.
them.
Yeah.
That's difficult. That's a difficult.
Yeah.
thing.
And I have. I'm the fifth of six.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's tough, and yeah. Having lived up like sibling expectations and different things like that. It's tough, especially having educator parents, because there's an expectation that your children are going to be right there, whether it is. So that's got to be difficult. So what does it look like today when you're walking alongside somebody? Say somebody comes in and they're at the meeting and they're new and they're terrified and they're hiding their ankle monitor and they're shaking and they have no clue. What does that look like for you to be able to pour into somebody?
It's amazing.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Just grab them all and say, come on, I'm going to show you. I'm Shay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
This is my SHEA-stimony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please copyright that because he might.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
He might
I've
steal
never
it from
heard
you.
that.
Yeah, you better.
Yeah,
you
you got to
get
use it. That's great.
That's awesome. Well, before we stop this thing, is there anything you could tell the one that is struggling that maybe resonates with something throughout your testimony and sees where you're at now, and they see that, you know, maybe they see that this is possible for me too? Is there anything that what would you tell you? Say you were talking to you, 15 years ago.
Oh man, I would tell myself first of all that I love myself.
Yeah.
I say I love you, and your life is important, and it's worth saving. I would tell myself, whatever you do, don't give up, because if you do, you're going to miss the best part of your life.
Mm.
You feel that's the season you're in?
It's going to make me cry.
Sorry. Sorry.
Do you feel?
Sorry.
No, it's good. I need to cry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You feel that's the season you're in now?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well,
Yeah.
anything else before we get done, Jess?
I don't think so. I think it's be families restored, get good relationship with your kiddos and
My
stuff.
kids are amazing.
It's amazing.
My
That's
daughter
incredible.
called me today at work and
Yeah.
said, Mama, AJ has this big meeting today. That's my son-in-law. She said, can you put him on the prayer board?
That's incredible.
Yeah.
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 What an incredible testimony.
Let's go find a ratio.
Yeah.
Let's
I'll
write
get
it
it up there because it's done.
Yeah,
It's done. That's incredible. That's incredible.
Amen. Well, I appreciate you coming and sharing with us. I know that a lot of people are going to get inspiration from that. If we could encourage you, I mean, your story is powerful. I mean,
Thank
what
you.
God's currently doing and what He's going to continue to do is helping pull people out of places that we've been. So anything we can do at Titan Ministries to help champion you on with that, man, we're right alongside you, because what's awesome is that we're seeing such a move locally of different entities that are all pulling from the same side. Your Haven being one of them.
Yeah.
And there's been such a light cast on not just this community, but a lot of them, that, hey, their statistics is what they are. And currently I'm seeing from the inside is like, it's not everybody pulling against each other and just chaos. There's a lot of people who are working together, and there's a lot of lives being changed right now.
A lot of
There really
lives.
a lot of lives are.
So I just did the numbers for your Haven for the impact statement for last year. It was over 27,000 interactions the whole year.
Wow.
And that could be repeat interactions, but that's a lot of interactions.
Wow. Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
for some people who are so hopeless that feel like
Yeah.
they're 15 years in and I'm never going to be anything
Yeah.
differently. So that's incredible it's a light for the hopeless.
Yeah, I had a place to go besides the next county jail,
Yeah. That's incredible.
I want to hear your story.
We
Yeah.
have to share a little bit of it. It's a lot. We're excited about the SHEA-stimony
That's
today.
right, we're
Okay.
doing
But
it.
when we get done here, we can for sure, I'll share you a little bit of it.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
Amen.
I'll say what I love about your story, Shay, is that people tend to think anybody that's in addiction is just somebody that's, I say like it's from the trailer park, from broken families.
Mhm.
And I think that your story shines a light on the fact that addiction affects everybody.
Everyone.
It does not matter. It's not a respecter of person. And so it's helpful to see families that maybe are educated or affluent or things like that are embarrassed because it's not supposed to happen to their family. It's beautiful to see what God brought you out of so that others that are in that situation too, because it doesn't matter, that they don't have to live in shame. They don't have to hide it away. It's not a dirty family secret. It's, hey, this person's sick. It just happens to be addiction that they're sick with,
Yep.
but there's hope even in that aspect. And I think
Yep.
that's incredible because I think addiction's segmented to, it's just a, broken
certain
junkie.
demographic,
It's just
yeah.
a serpent, and it's not. It's
No,
not.
it's not.
It doesn't matter where you come from, how educated your family. It doesn't. It's just not a respecter of person. So I think that's an important part of your testimony too. Is you had a great family and you had parents that
Yep.
loved you and they fought for you and still fight for you. That that you can still recover, but you doing it out loud
Yes.
gives a voice for people who would otherwise just keep it locked in. And that's beautiful. That's a beautiful part of your story. So I'm excited to hear it today. So
Thank you.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up with that. And man, I can't wait to go back and make a clip out of that. A couple of these things I've already in my head. Man.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for listening. And remember that sobriety is only the beginning.